Now that we've learned about inductive reasoning, we are going to introduce the building blocks of what is called deductive reasoning. And these building blocks are called conditional statements. A conditional statement is merely a statement written using an if-then format. If you clean your room, then you can go to the movies. A conditional has two parts to it. The first part is the hypothesis. We often refer to that with the letter P. That is the part that follows if. So in the statement, if you clean your room, then you can go to your movies, the hypothesis is you clean your room. The other part of the conditional is the conclusion, often referred to as Q, and that is the part of the statement that follows then. So once again, if you clean your room, then you can go to the movies. The conditional is you can go to the movies. Mathematicians love our symbols. So this is the symbol that we will use for a conditional statement. It is read as if P, then Q. Sometimes people will read it P implies Q. We can represent a conditional statement graphically using an Euler diagram. You will notice here that the hypothesis is inside the conclusion. A lot of people will refer to these diagrams as Venn diagrams. However, Venn diagrams have far more rules than Euler diagrams. So these simple diagrams are accurately referred to as Euler diagrams. Let's give this a try. What are the hypothesis and conclusion of the following conditional? As we learned, the hypothesis is the part of the conditional that follows if. So here is our hypothesis. An animal is a robin. Notice that the hypothesis does not contain the word if. It is a complete sentence by itself. According to the definition of conclusion, the conclusion is the part of the statement that follows the word then. So our conclusion is, it is a bird. Notice that the conclusion does not contain the word then. The hypothesis and conclusion are both complete sentences. Often, an ordinary sentence can be converted into a conditional. For example, this statement here. Vertical angles share a vertex. We can convert this sentence into a conditional statement by breaking the sentence into its subject and its predicate. Notice, however, that the subject is not a complete sentence. It merely states vertical angles. In order to convert this to a conditional, we need to create a sentence about vertical angles. It needs to be a generic sentence, and of course, we'll begin it with the word if. Let's see, something we can say about vertical angles. In order to have vertical angles, plural, that must mean we need to have more than one. Say two. So we can say if two angles are vertical angles. And because the hypothesis doesn't actually contain the word if, I'm going to change the color on that really quick. Therefore, our hypothesis is two angles are vertical angles. Now let's create a conclusion from the predicate. The predicate is the part of the sentence that contains the verb that comes after the subject. Here it is, share a vertex. The conclusion also comes after the word then. Let's create a sentence about angles sharing a vertex. Now we did say that there were two angles. You know what? Let's use a pronoun. Referring back to the two angles, they share a vertex. And that is how you can create a conditional out of a regular statement.